Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I do apologize for the situation at the moment. It's pretty crazy what's going on here. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the camera angle slightly. Jeez.
Starship 15 has been moved from the pack, but SpaceX has their sights set. 4 Starlink satellites have been...
Oh, man. What a morning it has been. What a morning. And good morning to you guys. No audio? I'm showing audio. Okay, had the sound off. Okay, good. Yes, I definitely have reasons to get angry today. Something that got me especially angry. By the way, I've got good news for all of you, and good morning to you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, especially with the late notification and everything. It's been pretty chaotic. I'm in the middle of transitioning my live streams to where I get an IT assistance, essentially, from across the Atlantic, from the United Kingdom. And so we have to work together before live streams to get things running. And we were doing some different things this time, and it was challenging anyway, but we got it done, and I'm excited about that as the quality of this channel hopefully continues to increase. And yes, good afternoon to everyone in Europe, and to folks watching in the United States. Thank you for tuning in so early. Really do appreciate all of this. It's all improved a lot, I think, compared to the stuff I used to do in terms of live streaming, and I'm really hoping that we'll have a continued improvement as time goes on. Hello, France. I speak very little French, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But thank you very much for checking in, and thanks to everyone right now. So the topic today is the scientific community and extraterrestrial civilizations. Do we really need to have a paradigm shift in the scientific community? This is something that that I think is incredibly important. Anybody who has an interest in astronomy, in space science, in astrophysics, the ultimate discovery for us as a civilization obviously would be to discover that we're not alone. And yet, hello, Cornwall, and hello, good people from the Philippines. Wow, all over the place. It always blows my mind. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You guys are fantastic. In terms of extraterrestrial civilizations and in terms of the way the scientific community reacts to it, I am actually releasing a video today about a discovery that was made a little over a month ago in a galaxy called M81, which is in our cosmic backyard as far as galaxies are concerned, and it was a fast radio burst that shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be coming from where we detected it, at least according to our understanding of fast radio bursts and what causes them. So it has astronomers confused. And of course, the article says as natural causes have been, dismissed one after another, the idea of extraterrestrial civilizations have also come up. By the way, it's not aliens. That's the first thing they got to say right away. It's not aliens. How the hell do you know that? If you don't know what the cause is, and you don't know if it's natural or not, then how in the name of hell do you know if it's if it's caused by an artificial source or a natural source if you don't know what the cause is at all? And it's a repeating fast radio burst, by the way. But I'm going to get into the details of what happened with that and what it could be interpreted as in terms of other civilizations actually in that video. But in general, what I wanted to discuss this morning more so is what do we need to do as a society to start accepting these things, to get the scientific community to start to be more open-minded about it, because there is so much trash science associated with ET. Let's face it, right? We have, just so many people with questionable degrees that appear on shows like, a lot of different shows, mostly on cable networks that have pretty much lost their credibility. And they pop up on these things saying all this crazy stuff, and it's just annoying. And so, obviously the scientific community needs to dismiss some of this. It's, of course they need to dismiss that, but to lump it all together, to talk about what Dr. Avi Loeb, and most of you know, thank you so much, Chris, thank you. As far as Avi Loeb is concerned, he is probably the forerunner of the scientific community when it comes to advocating for looking for extraterrestrial civilizations and for being open-minded about it. And he is the former chair of Harvard astrophysics. I mean, we're talking 10 years. This guy was the chair, and he stepped down only because of all the media attention he was getting because of his claims, in conjunction with his position, which of course is chair of astrophysics, and he was talking about these things for years, and nobody asked for his resignation there. So I think he was taken seriously, at least by his colleagues at Harvard and other places. And if you're not him, you just get thrown under the bus. I mean, almost immediately. People criticize you just for saying, just for bringing up the topic, and say that you are, taking away the magic of the entire discipline by talking about aliens instead of talking about amazing astronomical phenomena. I'm going to try to catch up with some of these. Yep, funding is one of the biggest issues, and the Fermi paradox. Yes, It really all depends. And one thing we can learn about when it comes to the Fermi paradox is the fact that, thank you, Anton, I really do appreciate that. And hello to Roswell from Roswell. Wow, what a great place to be for this sort of thing. Okay, back to that. As far as the Fermi paradox is concerned, if Oumuamua, which I've talked about a lot, was indeed a piece of extraterrestrial technology, for us to have detected it within the short frame of time that we've been able to detect things like that moving through our solar system, and we just happen to see one at this particular point in time in our history, that suggests to me, if it is extraterrestrial technology, that the universe may be brimming over with life, intelligent life. Because what are the odds that we saw something from another civilization flying through our solar system in the last couple of decades when we've been able to detect things like that? It's amazing. And yet that's what we ended up seeing with Oumuamua. Quite an amazing event. And if it was indeed, a piece of extraterrestrial technology, then that indicates to me that they are very widespread, and we're looking at a lot of technical civilizations across the galaxy, which, by the way, Carl Sagan also believed that was the case, that the galaxy was literally brimming over with life. Yes, the Great Filter, as Ivan just pointed out, the Great Filter, of course, referring to lots of different events that can, filter out most types of life. I would say probably the Great Filter on this planet was the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. That was our biggest filter, or at least our most recent Great Filter that annihilated 99% of the species on the planet. It was awful. And yes, you're right. Even with all the number of galaxies that we're finding in solar systems, we're not alone. There's no way that we're alone. It is utter arrogance to think that we are. And, to keep dismissing things that we find that defy natural explanation and continue to dismiss them as saying, okay, this is something natural that we just haven't figured out yet, as opposed to even considering the remote possibility that this might be something else. It's not scientific. That's not being open-minded. And really, shouldn't scientists be some of the most open-minded people on the planet? Shouldn't they be more open-minded to new ideas than anybody? because they look back to their great heroes of history, to Copernicus, to Galileo, people who were not people who were not accepted by the majority. And yet, guess what? They're behaving in the same way, being just as dismissive as the people who dismissed them. Danny, interesting. So you definitely had a UFO encounter. It looks like I say, one day, and this could be soon for all I know, when the government finally releases all of their findings about UFOs or whatever they call them now, and, all the details about what they have seen, including radar reports and all that, are released to the scientific community to be examined in detail, that's when I will probably make a video about this. Because, right now, all we have is anecdotal stuff and, some visual information, but, nothing 100% conclusive until we can put it all into a laboratory and have a, good look at it, like we've done with astronomical phenomena, where we've had an opportunity. Oumuamua, for example, was under incredible scrutiny, incredible observation, and that is interesting enough. If UFOs are drones, there was an interesting remark I saw there. And there ours. We wasted trillions on conventional flight while hiding it. Yeah, that would be amazing if they were some kind of drone that was capable of doing all the things that these things have supposedly been seeing to do. Yeah, by the way, please please subscribe. I would very much like you guys... like any support, obviously, that you guys care to give me. Okay, and let's see here. Fish in the Ocean. The Angry Aliens. Yes, that would be an interesting new channel. I wish I had time to start a new channel. This is still mostly a one-man show, aside from my good friend in Yorkshire, who's really making things happen for me. But other than that, this is pretty much a one-man show, so it's tough. It's very tough. So thanks very much, and keep these likes coming, and thank you very much for watching. Yeah, we just started observing. I agree, step by step. We've only just begun. And by the way, when we finally deploy James Webb, when James Webb finally gets put out there, we are going to start detecting fast radio bursts at a level that we never thought possible. Because right now, we're already detecting many, many more than we did just 5-6 years ago because of new equipment that we have at our disposal. When we get to the point to where we have James Webb at our disposal, we're going to be seeing some amazing things, and we are going to be able to come to some interesting conclusions, as to what we actually say. Who knows? Mars attack scenario. And hello, Florida. So it's 70 sextillion stars in the observable universe. It is, it's given the immense numbers. I think that it's very likely, of course, that we have life not only in other galaxies, but obviously our own. What time is it? It is currently 9:17 on the East Coast in the U.S. The reason I'm doing this is for the benefit of my European counterpart. He has some family-related stuff going on today, so I'm streaming at a time that works for him, which is fine by me because I get to talk to a lot of folks in Europe today. As a result, it's a good time for you folks. James Webb, will I live to see the day? That's a good question. That's a really good question, man. It just keeps getting delayed. And, I would prefer to see it delayed than fail, obviously. There are some issues with the fairing size of the Ariane 5, which, once again, how could that be an issue? I mean, you knew what this rocket was going to be all these damn years ago. Why is this an issue? I don't get it. I mean, it's not like the fairing size has changed in all this time, so that's all very strange as well. But then again, the delay seems to be minor. It seems that James Webb is very likely going to go this year. No, Webb is not going to be optical, Anton. Webb is going to be a radio telescope. It will be radio astronomy, and that's why I'm so excited about it, is it's going to be able to pick up these fast radio bursts and other phenomena, radio-related related phenomena wherever it may be in the cosmos, and that's going to be an amazing thing. I am super excited about that. Obviously, I want to see them do it. I want to see them be successful. So James Webb, we have to get it right. We have to, and it is tough. I mean, it's being deployed way out. It's being deployed way out into one of the sun's Lagrange points. That's millions of miles away. We've never tried to deploy an instrument this huge, this ambitious, that far away from our home planet. I mean, it is crazy, crazy difficult. I apologize. I think you're right about that. Infrared astronomy. What is wrong with me? It's too early in the morning. It's too early in the morning. What's wrong with me? I thought there was a radio aspect as well, but I did a program about this months and months ago, and I don't know. My head is starting to spin. Still going to be an amazing thing. So yeah, you guys are right. You caught me. Oh my God. I need to clear my head at some point. It's still going to provide us with amazing, obviously infrared information. If we have a wider spectrum of light to look at, we're going to see a whole lot more than we currently can see, and we're going to see it far, far beyond our own perspective. And yeah, I was getting this confused for some odd reason this morning with those who advocate a radio telescope on the far side of the moon. I have no idea why my head was going there. So I apologize, guys. Like I say, my brain doesn't work the way it used to. We'll move on. So yeah, James Webb, however, still is going to, with its capabilities, it's going to be able to see not only much further out into the universe, but also exoplanets are going to be revealed to it, and in much greater detail, a lot more information that it will be able to gather. So that will be an amazing thing that it will be able to be able to reveal to us. So not just expanding our vision throughout the universe, but also expanding the detail of what we know about in our own galaxy. Open up Antarctica to a settlement. Yeah, I'm thinking Mars would be more compelling and exciting for people than all that. Yeah, giant radio dish on the far side of the moon. I agree. Yeah, we were talking about the F-15 observations of UFO. It can probably stop time in its own reference. Yeah, that's that. All that stuff is very interesting. Those gun cams from those aircraft that were tracking those Tic Tac UFOs, those famous films, and then the pilot's reaction to it, all that. The problem is we need all of that information to be released in all detail, all the radar, everything that they picked up from those particular encounters, so that it can be scrutinized by the scientific community before we can really make an official study of it. And that would be, I think that would make a huge difference to all of us. If reality is a simulation, there might not be enough memory or processor power to include alien life. Yeah, this whole simulation idea is interesting as well. Of course, the whole argument against that is, if you're going to create a simulated universe, then why create it so big? Why make it so impossibly big that we can't even see it all? That would be a strange simulation to create. But NASA is preparing a mission to Venus. Also, yes, they actually have 2 missions going to Venus, and for good reasons. We've discovered obviously a lot of stuff about Venus, and once again, there's a huge effort on the part of many people in the scientific community to debunk any notion that there's life in the clouds of Venus. I've seen a lot of articles that have come out since those recent discoveries were made in the Venusian atmosphere, indicating that there could be life there, and all of that has started to be dismissed once again. It's just like the inclination is to just get people's minds away from the idea that there's life any place else besides our own. And I really don't get it. I don't understand the including bacterial life on other planets, and the immense amount of data that we got from Viking, for example, and from Curiosity, to suggest that there most probably is life on Mars, and yet it's not accepted by the vast majority. Again, narrow-mindedness. I don't understand it. And, given how life exists in so many unfriendly environments on our planet, including right by volcanic vents with tremendous temperatures, no light, etc., and yet life thrives there, then why can't it thrive in other hostile environments such as, Mars? I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't. And that's one of the reasons why we're concerned about contaminating Mars, is because there's so many life forms on this planet that could survive there. So if that's the case, then why not? Why are we not looking at it? By the way, I'm trying to pump myself up on coffee. Bear with me here. All right. Yeah, please, once again, please like, please subscribe. If you haven't already, when you're in a Dyson sphere, the view never changes. Yeah, if you're inside the Dyson sphere, yeah. And if you weren't inside the Dyson sphere, well, depends on how it was designed. If it was a partial, like a Dyson swarm instead of a Dyson sphere, which would probably be the more likely alien megastructure, not totally encasing the star, but rather most of it, then it would just be, a sky filled with lights, filled with solar collectors, transmitting all of that power back to the main civilization, unless you lived on the sphere itself instead of living on a planet, which has also been talking about. So folks have also discussed. So I'm very, very interesting. I believe there was a UFO that just entered a volcanic vent. Yeah, that is interesting. There was, well, in terms of a UFO diving into the ocean, that's something that was in the news most recently. I mean, this even made 60 Minutes recently. That whole concept of, of talking about UFOs openly as if it's, a topic to be discussed as opposed to something to be dismissed. And so that's changing. That is indeed changing, but we will see. We will see how things go. But yeah, the military, the government, apparently going to be releasing some information about this, and I'm excited about that. But at the same time, I'm taking the excitement with a little bit of, caution. I'm not expecting a whole lot to be delivered to us at the moment. Bear with me just one moment here. I've just got something coming in from elsewhere. Okay. Bear with me for just a second. Okay. Got something that popped up real quick, so I apologize, guys. All right. So things going on behind the scenes, something I've never been doing in the past. So it's very exciting, obviously. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Paul. Very, very nice indeed. I do appreciate that. And once again for the almost £5. Very, very, very generous of you. And like I say, this makes a huge difference to me, guys. When you do that, I'll tell you, because right now at the beginning of the month is always a very important time for a YouTube creator, and the views haven't been there as much for my last couple of videos as they have been in the past. Not quite as many people watching. So these little things you guys do make a huge difference to me. So thanks so much for those of you who do it. Of course, like and subscribe is wonderful too. So all right, I'll stop talking about that. Prepare the world for an alien's first contact. Yeah, I really hope that is the case. I really hope that would happen, that we are looking at the government preparing to release information about alien civilizations. I mean, what kind of effect is that really going to have on us? Are people going to freak out? I'm interested to see what you guys think. Is this going to freak people out, or are people just going to take it in stride because they've been expecting this day to come? I'm curious as to how you guys feel about that. It's because we're so used to it these days. We're so accustomed to it. You might see the UFO thing to disprove God, furthering a push for communism. Well, communism is kind of on its back foot in a lot of ways, even in countries that claim to be communist. They're way more capitalist than they ever were. In the People's Republic of China, in Vietnam has a tremendous amount of private enterprise going on right now. But I'm not going to go on to the political side of things. Do not suffer the Xenos to live for the glory of the Imperium. Yes, I used to play that game. I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. That's cool stuff. Okay, after 2020, I'm ready for our alien overlords. Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing that actually kind of bothers me personally is why are we regarding this as a security risk? Because if these things are capable of what they're supposedly capable of and they mean us harm, then we're dead. If they want to wipe us out, they can easily do it. All they have to do is redirect a sizable asteroid that we can't stop in our direction and scour this entire planet clean of life if they wanted to. If they have the ability to jump around, in our atmosphere, defying the laws of physics and all these other things that these crafts supposedly could do, they could easily divert an asteroid to annihilate the human species if they wanted to. So that being the case, why look upon this as a security risk unless it's stuff from another country, unless somehow some other country has developed incredibly advanced aviation? Then yeah, it's a security risk, I suppose. But if it's another species that's been around here for decades and decades and has never really done anything aside from just study us and get spotted every now and then what is the big deal? I just don't get it. I don't understand that much. So anyway, just having a look at civilizations monitoring us, UFOs likely wouldn't be so incompetent as to get caught with such huge, obvious spaceships. Yeah, that is a very good point. If they were that competent or that advanced, then what would be the odds of, us even being able to detect them? Unless they just didn't care. But if they didn't care that much, then they would be much more obvious about it. My favorite example of this is the whole Phoenix Lights incident, where thousands upon thousands of people saw what they claimed to have been a gigantic spacecraft that was shaped like a giant V with all of these lights running down it. They claimed that they saw this thing and it flew over Phoenix, over in front of thousands and thousands of witnesses. And my question is, if because lots of people think, oh, this was extraterrestrials announcing themselves to us to let us know that they don't mean us any harm, and here we are. Well, if they wanted to do that, why not do it in broad daylight? Why do it at night where they can't be clearly seen and it's tough to clearly identify them? Why be silly enough to get caught over a major city unless you just wanted to announce your presence? And if you wanted to announce your presence, why not do it during the daytime instead of at night? It doesn't make any sense to me. So, and I just got a super chat, by the way. I want to thank you for that really quick. I was trying to catch up with who just did that. Phil, thank you so much, Phil. Really do appreciate the support there. Very nice of you indeed. Yes, we are hostile. There's no question about that. And that is, one thing that concerns me. If we regard UFOs as a security threat, if this comes up, if this line of thinking, and all of this is stuff I seldom talk about because right now I don't look upon UFOs as something that needs to be studied in depth until we have more data released to us from the government. At that point, that's when it needs to be studied and when I'm going to start doing a lot more videos about the subject. But until that time comes, if we start regarding them as a security risk, then if they're flying over our airspace, what do? Threaten them? Tell them land, otherwise we'll be forced to fire on you. And if they don't reply, then we launch a missile. I mean, how stupid would that be? So, what becomes the rules of engagement if you regard this as a security risk? That's why I'm really hesitant to even, if we think it's from someplace else, if we think we're looking at a civilization that traveled interstellar to get here, then why the hell do we want to start looking upon this as security risk and therefore potential conflict? That would be just nuts. Maybe their cloaking works better during the day. G-forces for the objects are meaningless. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is true. The way they flit about and such. And once again, if all of this is confirmed and studied in detail, they do seem to defy everything. In terms of G-forces, maneuvering around, that sort of thing, it is mind-blowing, definitely mind-blowing. Final evolutionary stage, yes, where we create advanced AI. Yeah, and that may indeed be the final evolutionary stage that every species gets to. We may find, as we explore out into the universe, that every civilization becomes a machine civilization in order to achieve, immortality. They go into the machine on a regular basis. So it's or just simply become part of the machine, and that becomes the ultimate evolutionary point that just about every species gets to, assuming that they don't destroy themselves. It's a very compelling theory, but at the same time a little bit concerning. Is what is a machine civilization going to think about somebody like us primitive organic meat bags? Are they going to be considerate and look upon us as an intelligent species? Would a civilization that has had spaceflight for millions of years, as Dr. Avi Loeb said, would a civilization that had spaceflight for millions of years even look upon us as an intelligent species? Or would they just look upon us as a bunch of chimpanzees with nuclear weapons? Who knows? Who knows? It's crazy stuff. Very, very crazy stuff. Yeah, and once again, some of the things as far as the video quality is concerned is some of the transatlantic things, which is going to get rectified when I relocate. But at the moment, I'm very glad that we're getting. Oh, you mean in terms of video quality on the aliens? Yeah, that's true. As far as the UFOs are concerned, yeah, I really wish that we could see some up close 4K imagery of these things about these ships coming to us, as opposed to anything else. Buzz Aldrin says there's a big monolithic structure on Phobos. Does he really? I didn't know that about Buzz Aldrin. I'm very interested to see that. I'm going to look that up. I'm very, very interested with that. Curiosity defines intelligence. They may be curious as well and afraid of conflict. Yeah, well, I mean, that would be very sensible. As I say, we could very well be chimps with, nuclear weapons as far as they're concerned. So yeah, that would be an unfortunate thing, indeed. We are actually the Phobos Monolith stuff is being looked up currently. Yep, this is indeed the words of Buzz Aldrin. It seems, according to the BBC. I saw a second link there that it seemed to be some kind of story. I'll have to look at that a little bit more, but I will be very fascinated. Yep, there's the Phobos Monolith. I'm going to have to look into that. That is really, really interesting. Of course, it is quite interesting also, or it's also a common thing for us to get fooled by what we think we see in the in orbital videos or shots taken by our spacecraft, by our Mars orbiters, etc., that might throw us off. And apparently, there is a C-SPAN. There's a C-SPAN video of him revealing the existence of the monolith on Mars, but it's 6 minutes. Well, let's see, it's 1 minute long. I think we might just do this. Looks like we're gonna put this Buzz Aldrin. We're gonna put this Buzz Aldrin clip, the C-SPAN thing from Buzz Aldrin, live for you guys right now. So I'm not gonna have to, at least here in a couple of minutes, gonna run this thing for you guys so you can have a look at it. Yeah, well, it wasn't my idea. You can thank my friend in Yorkshire. He is the man. Can you guys hear me currently? Both sounds are off. Okay, bear with me, guys. We'll be there in a minute. Sorry. Peace. Okay. Like I say, we were doing that on sort of a lark. So apparently some sort of echo on the sound at the moment. Sorry guys, like I said, I think we did this on just kind of a lark to try to show you this clip, but it is on C-SPAN. So I am most intrigued to see what ends up happening with that. So we'll see but just have a look. Just look up C-SPAN, Buzz Aldrin, Phobos, Monolith. It's a clip that's only a little over a minute long, so not really a big deal as far as that's concerned. I do sound like an alien with the echo, huh? So yeah, we will. Yep. There's the link. The link just came up from my friend in Yorkshire, so you guys can have a look at that. Once again, sorry about that, but I am most intrigued to see what the deal is. But then again, we have no sound again. Sounds are off again. Okay. So apparently still sound is fine. Some people say we'll just keep this going. And once again, sorry, as this is a work in progress, guys, it really is. We are doing things as we go along. Like I say, I still find it to be way more exciting than the stuff I used to do when you used to see me go up and turn the camera on and turn it off and staring under my glasses and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, back to we fooled ourselves so many times in the past with monoliths on Mars, face on Mars, pyramids on Mars, that sort of thing. And we continue to this day. We still talk about the face on Mars as being, a legitimate alien artifact. Some people really still believe that. They use, processed images of the face on Mars, and it looks a lot more human-like and that sort of thing. And then granted, the face on Mars, in terms of its shape, it is very proportional looking in terms of like the chevron shield-like thing that it's on, but it doesn't look convincing to me. In terms of it may be just a happenstance event that, a fairly proportional object appeared on the planet. Now, there are other things that we've seen on Mars that do look kind of curious. The pyramids are another thing, those giant, huge, curiously shaped mountains, but they could be shaped strangely by the wind. The more up close images that we got from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and such of those areas, the less convincing it required. It was just, and yeah, as far as extraordinary proof is concerned, I agree with that to a point. I think that theories we need to be open to theoretical possibilities, whether they are artificial or not. As far as it, coming over as absolute proof, no, absolutely not. It doesn't have to be, wow. Sorry, Christopher. Sorry, I got to jump in. Thank you so much, Christopher. Wow, what a super chat. Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Okay, we'll keep that going here. Yeah, we need extraordinary proof for it to be an undisputed claim, but for it to be a theory, no. I don't think you need extraordinary proof to have a theory about these sorts of matters. It's very important to understand the difference here between theories and fact. And so why can't you come up with artificial explanation theories? And sure, maybe they can be debunked, but if they can't, then that's a theory that should remain valid. And yet it's not how things are usually treated by the scientific community. And that's what I find to be so frustrating. A CL-1201 flying aircraft carrier prototype. Interesting. I haven't actually seen that. That is very interesting indeed. I haven't seen that particular prototype. I'd be very interested to see what that looks like. So yeah, the whole situation with us trying to, get absolute proof of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. I agree. We don't have the absolute proof yet. But at the same time, I think that very compelling theories still abound as far as the astronomical phenomena that we observe and other things. And of course, the evidence that we've gotten from Mars as far as bacterial life is concerned is huge. I mean, very, very strong evidence. Once again, absolute proof? No, we're not going to have absolute proof until we're, actually examining Mars under a microscope. And even if we do, I think that there's going to be people who are going to say, oh, we just contaminated the planet with our own bacteria. And, that's all that this is. Nothing to see here, guys, that sort of thing. I think that even if we do find people, if we do find bacterial life on Mars, there's going to be people trying to debunk that discovery and say that we brought it there, and that it's not something, and it's going to take forever to prove that it evolved independently, or that, life may have come from Mars originally and was transmitted here. That whole theory, the transpermia theory. Some even theorize that transpermia can happen on an interstellar level, that, life can survive on asteroids and meteors and comets for, billions of years until these asteroids are captured by other by other stars and that sort of thing, and end up slamming into other planets, spreading life from one solar system to another. I find that to be an amazing possibility, but who knows? For anyone old enough, Buzz Aldrin. Okay, for those. Let's see, alien-looking creatures in the high street. I would tend to agree with you, actually. I would agree with you. Life started on Earth by 100 million years of its formation. The fact that it took another 3.6 billion years. Yeah, that's true. Bacterial life, easy. More complex life, much harder. Much harder. So yes, I would say bacterial life on Mars is a near certainty. Once again, we need to actually get it under a microscope to 100% prove it, but I think it's a near certainty in my opinion. And then as far as the rest of everything is concerned, in terms of multicellular life, that's when things become a little bit more difficult. But life has had a long time to develop on Mars, and the conditions necessary for life have been there for an extremely long period of time. Even when we're talking about liquid water can exist on Mars because of the salts and the perchlorates that exist in the ice. Subsurface water can, be liquid when it comes up. Obviously, it evaporates and freezes, etc., the moment it emerges from the ground. But because of the other contents in Martian water, including the stuff that we think is going to kill life, perchlorates, the water has a low enough freezing point because of these additional elements in order to remain in a liquid state subsurface, therefore allowing for the existence of life. And we get more and more evidence to indicate that we have liquid water subsurface on Mars, on top of the rest of it. So yeah, there's so many amazing things that we have yet to discover in our solar system. And in my opinion, we are going to find that life, at least simple life, is going to be as natural to the development of a solar system as everything else. Gravity, the formation of new planets, gravity causing planets and asteroids to form and accumulate matter over time. And, the entire process of solar system development is also going to include the process of life developing. And that is really, and I think personally, we're going to find life on Mars. We're going to find it on Enceladus or beneath Enceladus, on Titan, on Europa. We're going to find it all over the place. And we could find it in the atmosphere on Venus as well. I think that as time goes on, it's going to throw the scientific community on its head. That's going to be the paradigm shift, isn't it? When we go out and we start finding life everywhere. But we're not going to be able to do that unless we, A, do sample return missions, which are difficult, take many, many years, and, even so, don't necessarily guarantee success, or we go there ourselves, which is, the option that is the obvious one. That's the one that we, what would I consider proof of alien visitors? I would say proof would be to have multiple sources of data that has been scrutinized by the scientific community of an alien ship doing things that are, impossible for our current aviation to do, and for that data to have been extensively studied, and for them to say this cannot be anything manufactured on our planet. If they did something, if that sort of, information came out, that would be incontrovertible evidence for me. That's one thing of a number. There could be other examples, obviously. For me, Oumuamua is really close. For me, Oumuamua makes it like 99% extraterrestrial life. I urge you, if you have not read Extraterrestrial by Dr. Avi Loeb, read it. Read it. It is one of the most fascinating and amazing books you will ever read. And the astrophysics behind the whole notion, his whole theory, is extremely sound. All of the visual evidence supports his postulation that this was an artificial object. All of the visual information supports this. There's nothing that debunks it. And so the only thing that prevents the community from considering it is the fact that it's aliens. Other than that, there really isn't anything. But instead, we keep coming up with completely unlikely and irrational natural explanations, like a nitrogen ice is the most recent. They tried a hydrogen ice idea the first time, and then that got quickly debunked. And then nitrogen ice is the latest one. I'd be very interested to see how a pancake thin piece of nitrogen ice survived a close encounter with the sun, coming closer to the sun, far closer to the sun than Mercury did, and not get destroyed, ripped apart by gravity, or just evaporated or shattered. I can't imagine how something, could approach something made of nitrogen ice, pure nitrogen ice, could do that. It doesn't make any sense. And we've never seen anything like that in our own solar system. And we should have by this point, given the fact that there are, Pluto and other places where there is plenty of nitrogen ice that could get kicked up by meteor impacts and that sort of thing. And guess what? We haven't seen anything like Oumuamua in our own solar system, not once. And there's plenty of sources of nitrogen ice in the solar system. So if this is a kind of thing that crops up a lot, often enough for us to have seen it coming in from an interstellar source, then why the hell haven't we seen it in our own solar system? It seems unbelievably unlikely, not even to mention all of the difficulties involved with a piece of nitrogen ice surviving a close encounter with the sun. Just especially wafer thin, a wafer thin UFO. Yeah, no, definitely not. Thanks, by the way, all the kind words, guys. I really do appreciate all of that. Nitrogen ice, yes, Pluto, Triton, yep, and other places too. But Pluto and Triton, of course, are the two biggest examples, and there have been numerous meteorite impacts on both of those moons, Pluto's not a moon, obviously, on Pluto and on Charon, for that matter, and also Triton. It's something that should have created a big piece of nitrogen ice flying around the solar system if those sorts of things were common. But guess what? We've seen nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever. Does that make any sense to you? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. Seems to me that if nitrogen ice, and something really pure nitrogen ice, because that's the only thing that explains this, if it was partially a comet, partially nitrogen, we would have seen the cometary outgassing from this object. We saw nothing, absolutely nothing at all. So it would have to be almost pure nitrogen ice. Why have we seen nothing like that in our own solar system? It doesn't make any sense. Just like I say, read Extraterrestrial. It will really make you look again at how we view astronomical phenomena and whether or not it might be related to extraterrestrial life. I really feel that Dr. Loeb in this particular situation has made an incredibly strong case for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. Do I think that we have been visited on Earth before? John, I think it's very likely, yes. Given the immense age of the universe, given the immense age of our solar system, and the hundreds of millions of years that life has existed on this planet, I think it's extremely likely indeed, that we have been visited. Now, have we been visited during the time of human civilization? Like, did they influence our civilization's development, ancient civilizations, that sort of thing? That I have serious doubts about. I really do. Can we launch into space from the UK, Northern Europe, or Canada in the future, and what are the drawbacks? Oh, definitely can. As a matter of fact, Skyrora, a company I talk about quite often, they're going to be launching a test rocket from northern Scotland at the end of this year is the plan, from what I understand, and that is from northern Scotland. The whole idea behind these launches from far northern altitudes is for polar orbits, which are very useful for certain types of satellites, orbits that essentially go around the poles as the planet rotates underneath the satellite. Could be quite useful to all of us. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff indeed. Non-equatorial orbits. Yep. It's a good place to launch from. I'd say, yeah, northern Canada and Scotland, and indeed even like northern Siberia, that sort of thing. All of those are good spots, but it's also a good reason why floating platforms make a lot of sense too. You can move them around. I want to launch from the equator, tow it down to the equator. I want to launch from close to the poles, tow it down to Antarctica, that sort of thing. Find out what the dinosaurs did to piss off the aliens to make us eliminate them. Could be. That would be the simplest way for an alien civilization to scour us off the surface of the planet, would be to just simply redirect an asteroid and take us out. The whole thing of them coming down in spaceships and blasting us, from all these different movies that we've seen, it just makes no sense whatsoever. So, anyway, the one thing that's very interesting to me, as a comment was made that dinosaurs didn't have a space program. Yes, there could be a big motivation on the part of another species to see to it that we don't go interstellar, as opposed to where we are now, to keep us restricted to our own planet. That would be a really serious issue. We'll see how that goes. Dinosaurs, let's see. The pyramids, proof of alien interference? Definitely not. Okay. I don't believe that the pyramids are evidence of alien interference, simply because I think that we underestimate the capabilities of ancient man. I do believe that the Egyptians created the pyramids on their own, using their own technology. I do solidly believe that. It was actually my field of specialty in school, and was ancient history. That was one of the major things that I studied, and what the ancient Egyptians accomplished throughout their history was phenomenal, but certainly doable for an ancient civilization. And I think that it's unwise to underestimate the capabilities of ancient man. I think that the ancient human race was capable of amazing stuff, simply amazing feats of engineering, and Herodotus, but even by the time of Herodotus, which is about 300 BC, the Egyptians had even forgotten how these things were built. Even the Egyptians themselves didn't know how the pyramids were built, and that is an amazing thing indeed. And yeah, they've been explored quite thoroughly. The pyramid of Khufu and the other great pharaohs of the Old Kingdom. The evidence strongly suggests that they were indeed tombs. Yes, but I'm not going to get into that right now. It is what I studied in school, but I have a lot of respect for the ancient Egyptians and what they were able to accomplish on their own, and I think that they did indeed do this on their own. Way back when. And the Great Pyramid was the largest object, the tallest object on the face of the planet until the Eiffel Tower. I mean, isn't that an amazing thing that you had the same object, as the tallest structure on the planet for all those millennia until finally they built something new? It's kind of mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. So yeah, I think that what they accomplished. Now, of course, it was at a huge human cost. The human cost of building the pyramids. They were not built by slaves, as a lot of people say. They weren't built by the Hebrews, for example, that sort of thing. They were built by normal citizens who donated their time to build a resting place for God. That's, was their motivation. Let's build something for God and earn our own way into a perfect place in the afterlife. These people were paid, and they were, it definitely was not a slave labor project. It was something that was built by the Egyptians themselves. Anyway, so, what's the Lincoln Cathedral? I'm going to have to look that one up. I'm interested now, because I heard it was the Eiffel Tower, but I'll definitely look that up. I'm very interested. It could very well be. It's just something that I had seen on an Eiffel Tower, documentary. But yeah, that could very much be the case. Sir Goosey, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, by the way, guys, the notification bells, just look it up as to the how to activate them if you're unfamiliar with it, rather than trying to describe that to you. Yeah, definitely turn on the notification bells if you're in the mood anyway, to know when I'm coming online, to know when I'm going to be there. But this stuff always gets recorded, everything that I do. So, anyway, let's see. Straight cut by floating the stone in water. Yes, there's still a lot of talk going on about ancient civilizations, and yes, it is quite amazing the kinds of cuts and the kinds of stones that can be created using ancient tools. It's actually been done. I saw a presentation in an Egyptology club that I was part of in Denver, Colorado, where they described a machine that could be built using the technology of the time that could not only make the blocks but also lift them into position. They would need to have a lot of these machines going up level by level, tier by tier. There's no proof that these things exist, obviously, but they could have been made with the technology at the time and even lift these massive heavy blocks without all these tons and tons of people pulling them up. It was kind of an amazing presentation. Once again, we have no idea whatsoever. But just to be completely clear, for those who were able to do it, they took, and I was, when I was in this presentation, they demonstrated it. They lifted one of those blocks using this machine with technology that existed 4,000 years ago, and they lifted the equivalent weight of one of these blocks up to another level. A lot of our current day machines can't do it, but they were able to do it with what they designed. It is possible. Is the U.S. Space Force really going to launch suborbital rockets for quick transport? They were talking more about, I think, equipment and supplies is what they've been talking about. I'm going to release a video about this, by the way, in terms of the military use of the Starship. I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest, but at the same time, I mean, they're looking at the possibilities, but I think if they do use it, at least for a long time, it's only going to be for supplies, equipment, no people. I think that they would be really, really hesitant to do that. Let's see. And the alphabet actually. Okay, so yeah, we've been all over the place in terms of ancient civilizations and that sort of thing. I know that my partner in Yorkshire only has a few more minutes to be discussing things. Bear with me here. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly send him a message, unless he happens to be online right now, just to let him know that we'll be. Okay, great. He just said he's good to go. So I'm going to continue for about another 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and terminate because my son is here right now. You may notice that I'm in a totally different room. This is the spare room that I use when he's staying here, so that's why I'm in a different spot. So I've got 3 or 4 minutes if we want to do that. And yeah, I hope we do find a monolith on Mars. Wow, wouldn't that be an amazing thing? And I am open to the possibility. Mars billions of years ago was a much more habitable world. Why, if a civilization did visit here, why wouldn't they have built some sort of station or something like that on this world that was habitable and friendly to biological life? They may very well have, but can't say for certain, obviously, and I think we're going to need to look very hard. But once again, looking for alien artifacts on Mars and on the Moon are 2 of the most obvious places to look, because we don't have resurfacing, we don't have the same levels of erosion, we don't have the same sorts of things covering over evidence of the existence of these sorts of artifacts. So that is the best place to look for them. Not here as much, not here, because obviously the surface of our own planet gets resurfaced constantly, but Mars and the Moon, I think that there's a very good chance that that we could find something at some point in the future. How aliens have not been hit by our space garbage. Well, our space garbage that has gone interstellar is still a long ways up in terms of our own orbit. Yeah, I get it. The repeating signal, Robert. Yeah, the what we saw in M81, if that's what you're referring to, Robert. I'm going to release a video about that, but it is repeating at the moment. James Webb will show us a bunch of megastructures and hyperlanes. Who knows? I think James Webb will release a lot. We were talking about that earlier, I think that is going to reveal a great deal to us. But all it's going to do, in my opinion, is just stoke the fires of dispute and debate even more. Hopefully, it will bring more of the scientific community into the camp that at least considers the possibility that some of these phenomena that we observe are extraterrestrial civilizations and not just some natural cause that we haven't figured out yet. We need to start looking at both sides of the equation and regard both of them as being equally valid, which isn't happening right now at all. The automatic assumption right from the beginning is that it's not aliens. That's what is immediately assumed right off the bat. It's not aliens. And the only time somebody comes up with some sort of thing as to what aliens would use a certain technology for that would explain a certain phenomenon is, what are we, what would they use this for? What possible use would this have? And they only do that for the sake of trying to debunk it, not to actually think about, hey, what might they use it for? Let's brainstorm this and see if there is a logical explanation as to what they might use this technology or this phenomena for, which, by the way, will be in the video that hopefully will be released today. The Eye of the Sahara. I am so sorry. I wish I knew about that, but I don't, and I promise I'm going to look it up and be ready for that next time I do this. Okay, so once again, what kind of technology could actually create an FRB? What would you need for that kind of signal? This was in a study that was released, and this is going to be my last comment of the broadcast. The technology required for an FRB is approximately twice the size of our planet, twice the size of Earth. So you're talking about a sizable megastructure, but it's not it's not a Dyson sphere. It's nothing that grandiose. It would be a megastructure approximately twice the size of our planet and a solar array roughly the same size, collecting the necessary information to create a narrow beam FRB of that intensity and that magnitude in order to propel light sails to relativistic speeds. And this is what Dr. Loeb talks about in his paper in conjunction with some others. And now I'm looking at the eye of Sahara. Very interesting indeed. Concentric circles are always a very interesting thing. And it could indeed be an indication of an ancient civilization of some kind. Most intriguing, but once again, I'd have to look at it. It's apparently some sort of structure, some sort of geological structure. But in any event, it's 40 kilometers in diameter, apparently. Very interesting stuff indeed. Something I'll look into. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, by the way. I really do appreciate that. So yeah, we can conceive of something that could create an artificial fast radio burst of that kind of intensity. I'm going to be talking about that later in the video, so I'm not going to give away too much here. Got some new animations for you guys, too. Once again, courtesy of my partner out in Yorkshire, he showed me some ways to get this stuff. Video quality and the animations in the videos is going to go through the roof, guys. You guys are going to love the visuals that are coming from the Angry Astronauts, so get ready for some very cool stuff. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close at this point. I do know that both my partner in Yorkshire, he needs to get on with family-related stuff today, and I need to get back to my son and also to finishing my video. So, folks, until we have an environment where the scientific community is open-minded enough to accept theories that involve artificial creation, artificial origins, as quickly as they will accept theories that involve natural explanations, until they stop clinging to nothing but natural explanations and actually are open to talking about artificial explanations and admit to themselves and to the world that we are not alone. I urge all of you to stay angry about space.